How is everybody today? Let's see, looks good. All right, everybody's coming in strong. Okay, so today is April 28th, 2021. My name is Jared. This is Engineering the Markets. Let's go ahead and get into it. As we start off with our SPY, overall, we're seeing a lot of range compression throughout the past couple of sessions. The SPY hasn't necessarily broken out to the upside, and the SPY has not even come back to the lower end of some of the larger daily ranges that we've gone ahead and marked with a 12 exponential moving average and just the overall level that we see inside of some of our daily candles from last week. So in a market condition like this, where we're simply waiting to gauge a little bit more of a directional bias, we're obviously looking around to see, are things starting to fall apart behind the scenes? Are we getting certain sectors starting to pull away from their highs and basically provide weakness that the market is trying to obfuscate from us, trying to hide it from us? Or is everything just kind of operating as normal, and what we're simply seeing is a balance? Maybe some sectors coming down, some sectors coming up. Overall, no one's winning, no one's losing, and that balance remains until we get something a little bit more significant. And we'll take a look at that today. We'll see if there's anything that's standing out. There were a couple of notable price movements in some of the areas that we like to track. And some of these may facilitate a multi-day sort of setup in sort of a swing trade or just a trade idea for today. But from this perspective of the SPY, daily is holding in. We'll look at our 4-hour and just say that we are in this sort of very tight range. We can go ahead and mark this area here, and you can see just how tight we've been over the past couple of sessions. We're sitting right around 416 on some of these lows, maybe 416.25. And then we have this 418.25 to 418.50 that the market is trying to get through. As we dig into our 30-day, we note that in some of our sessions, especially as we approach this resistance, the market does have a tendency to pull back rather hard. The reaction is pretty strong and pretty fast to the downside. And while we haven't lost support, what we're basically interpreting here is that as we approach that resistance, there tends to be sort of a give back. Basically, the bulls are not able to hold on for that period of time. They give all that range back, and they come all the way back down to our intermediate support around 416. This is very short-term mindset, short-term bias. And as we look at our volume profile, we can see what's happening here. I'm going to actually pull it back to the 30-day. We can see that a lot of value is getting built in this upper range. We still know that there are shelves of value sitting below us, but what we've been doing over time is filling in some of those drop zone pockets that we've had. And the potential for the market to fall through these is structurally getting repaired to some degree. So if you recall from prior sessions, this area used to be a pretty deep pocket of value. That is no longer the case from this 30-day perspective. We do have a shelf here sitting right at 411.50, and that was noted from some of the price action we've had in the past. We have this nice range support that built a shelf of value. And then as we come lower, this is where our pockets do exist. From 411.50 down to about 406. We have this other range that we don't want to lose on a downside move. And then we have this very significant pocket where we definitely don't want to fall as bulls, as the downside there could be potentially much greater than we had seen at these upper ranges. So you can see how the pockets on the upside are getting filled in. The downside risk is if we start to lose some of these shelves. And if we lose some of these shelves, the pockets are wider. And therefore, unless the market does some sort of correction in those pocket zones, the bias is to the downside as we start to lose those shelves. But so far, the market has not done that. We're simply noting where they are. And if we do lose key levels, at this point, the most notable level that we want to at least test is this 416 area. So this area here, we want to at least get to here before we want to consider any sort of downside target. And so far, the market has not given us that. So we will continue to remain sort of looking upwards until there is something significant happening to the downside. As we get into our Qs, we'll load up our daily perspective. We note that the Qs have been showing some relative weakness. They are not breaking through their all-time highs. We do have sort of a range of resistance in this area, and we have cupped and sort of curled through this to test it on a second attempt. So far, the market has pulled back from this based on yesterday's session. And then we have our notable daily range low, multiple days testing that area. And overall, that's our key level that we're trying to hold. Nothing more to note there. So let's go into our 4-hour. Look at just a 20, 50, and 200. We see that the price action here is choppy at best. We have this key range low. We have sort of an intermediate range. And then we have the all-time high, which we've tested twice. So we've gotten to it once, and then we tested it once. And now we're sort of sitting at the upper ends of this larger range. We have a small range here. We have a small range here. And overall, we cannot, as of yet, bust through that upper range. Now, what's interesting is while the SPY this morning is sitting closer to its all-time highs, the Qs have actually backed away. And as we dig into a 1-hour chart, we can see that the market is actually closing closer to this lower end range. Some of this may be facilitated by the earnings that we saw last night. But overall, the structure here is that the Qs are not really leading us to all-time highs at this moment. We're seeing pulls away from all-time high in the Qs, and we're seeing just a general hesitation to facilitate upward movement. That's seen with some of the moving averages crossing back and forth. We have this very tight range that we're trying to define and break through, and overall, just a lack of directionality. From the volume profile perspective, 340 major shelf, we are building a lot of value here. The idea here is that if we can get above it, we can start to use 340 as a support zone. And if the market ever pulls back into 340, the potential for a bounce from there to lead us to higher prices is available. But as we are sitting here, we have a little bit of a zone here that can lead us back to this lower range. We see that 336 is that lower range support. We see the shelf of value here that can act as that support. And until we get out of this area, we're kind of just playing high to low, low to high, similar to the SPY, albeit with maybe a little bit more range to play with in the Qs. And then obviously as we get lower, we have our pockets. We don't want to fall through those from the bullish perspective, as the downside risk is stronger and the shelves of support are farther in between and not as strong. There's not as much value there. So getting to those spots, we'd have to sit, consolidate, sort of build up some pressure once again to get us to higher prices. And that's the current downside risk as we sit here, is that we can't seem to choose a direction. And that's simply just the market that we're in. The market is pausing, building value, maybe waiting for some of this earnings to pass, and then we may see those breakouts occur. As we look at our IWM, however, we see a slightly different picture. Whereas the SPY and the Qs have looked fairly similar, testing all-time highs, maybe a little bit of weakness in the Qs overall. We have this clear breakout of a level that the IWM facilitated over the past few sessions. We noted how the pull down into weekly 20 moving average support led to a bounce. We got some nice follow through off of that bounce, so that is notable. The fact that we've been making higher highs and higher lows over the past 5 sessions. We always want to keep that in mind, not only where we are and what we expect to happen at support, but what actually happens when we get off of support. Is it sort of a very timid move away, or is it a very strong, daily trends, each and every day sort of reaction? We saw that in the SPY and the Qs as we started to break through some of the March doldrums, some of the March selling that we saw, and we had those very strong breakouts. The IWM is putting in some potential here, and we do see, the reaction off of that 20 moving average support. For those who are unfamiliar, I'll just bring it to the weekly really quick to note 20 moving average, nice pin bar candle off of that, nice reaction off of that. So as we get into our lower time frames, we'll look at our 20/50/200. We'll zoom in. Structure here was that we had this pennant. We started to tighten our range, started to oscillate in between these areas. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it is technically a range compression. And then we got through the upper end of that range. We broke on strength. We broke on some decent bullish volume. And now we're looking at the opportunity for this market to trend. And typically, whenever this occurs, we want to look at slightly lower time frames to see if they're respecting some moving average support or just some general trend line. What we have so far is that we have the potential for the 20 to act as support. We can see it reacting off of that in pre-market currently. And while this is the first attempt, it's also the first breakout of the pennant. So if we want this market to trend higher, we want to look at some of these lower time frames, see if they're just riding some sort of dynamic support, and then that'll lead us to all-time highs, potentially even higher if the market facilitates a breakout. So our opportunity there is we're seeing a little bit of rotation into the IWM as some of the rest of the market is hesitant to break higher with some of the earnings expectations that we have this week. And from the 30-day 1-hour perspective using volume profile, VPOC is still where it's been over the past couple of months. Nothing's really changed there, but we are sitting above the VA high. So this is that first look at maybe a bullish breakout of a range. We've gotten above some significant lower high levels as the range was compressing. And as we've broken out, let's come back test, show that this can act as support, maybe use this shelf of value around 225 as an area of support, and then facilitate, very similar to other markets, that sort of trend breakout where we get higher highs, higher lows every day. And obviously the price action is much more clear to interpret when you have such a clean breakout overall. If we don't do that, the risk to the downside is that we get pulled back down to VPOC. We always talk about how VPOC is hard to get away from, and that's because the market likes to be in balance. So the balance sits here. We're trying to move away from balance, and if we do, we should see a more directional market as opposed to a range compression, back and forth, high to low sort of market. As traders, we want range. We want at least levels to trade against, or we want some sort of momentum breakout. Either or, we just need to know which market that we're in. Okay, so we got our perspective on the indices. Some things that occurred yesterday worth noting. Go ahead and bring it back to our daily and just load up our 2050 200s. Okay. Some notable things yesterday. One of the strongest sectors that we had yesterday was energy. We're seeing that crude is still facilitating this range where we compressed in the inner portion of the range. We broke out. We back tested, little sloppy on the back test, I would say. I would have loved to see the top of the range hold a little bit better, but technically we are holding this area, which is where we compressed from and where we broke out from. So far the picture still looks, cautiously bullish to the upside. And over the past couple of sessions, crude has moved higher. We saw a nice double bottom back test and then a break above this higher portion of the range. Now, with crude starting to do this, we want to see for the energy sector, do we have some other areas of interest? And I bring up natural gas. Natural gas has been moving slightly higher off of the 200-day moving average. We've been, a couple pullback days throughout, but overall direction is up. And then over the past couple of sessions, we've had some really strong moves to the upside. The volume hasn't been great, that is worth mentioning. But as far as directionality goes, we have pushed through a lot of some of the chop we've seen in the past. And if I look way back in time, and when I say way back in time, I'm talking 2004, 2007, and 2018. If I draw this very general trend line, natural gas has been butting up against this for pretty much the entirety of 2020 into 2021. We've been compressing the range inside of natural gas for a long time. Now, this is a very early sign to see natural gas start to break this multi-year trend line, but I keep it on my chart to give me perspective. Where are we? How far have we gone down? And at what point is this general downtrend having the potential to change direction? And when I look at natural gas, what I'm seeing is, once again, an attempt to get above this trend line and the potential for it to hold, given that we've compressed this range over the course of multiple months. So short term, natural gas did break higher. Crude is breaking higher. And from the perspective of a long-term investor or just someone who's looking at natural gas as an opportunity, there are some signals here that are starting to look like a potential trend reversal. So take that as you will. Short term, definitely looking at natural gas. I've been looking at it for a long period of time with crude, and energy as a whole is one way to play it. We've also been looking at bonds, and bonds did have some notable directional movement yesterday. So I'll start off with the TLT. The TLT has been holding this ascending triangle near the lows. We had a weekly bounce off of the 200-day weekly moving, or I guess 200 period weekly moving average, call it what it is. So just a general area to consider, maybe a slight bounce. We saw the daily start to show that upward momentum, and what we're doing currently is back testing it a second time. Now, I think the overall breakout here has been pretty tame. So far, yields are definitely holding us down. And when we look at TNX, we see that yesterday there actually was a pretty strong push off of the 50. Obviously a little early to kind of tell some of this directional bias, and there's a lot of factors in play here. But when I start to look at where we are and the fact that we had this reaction getting us through a very general retracement downtrend sort of look and feel, definitely, gets my attention. I want to start watching this a little bit more closely. If we get yield starting to rise, are we going to see that correlation return where financials are going to be very strong? tech may be a little bit weak or maybe just not perform as well as it had in the past. And then obviously if those correlations don't exist, this just becomes another tradable opportunity. If you're looking to short bonds, if you're looking to somehow engage in this market, you're looking at both the product, the bond price itself, and also the interest rate index. So opportunities here. Definitely want to keep an eye on these, as throughout some of this downward movement, we really haven't seen any reactions. It's been a pullback. Pullbacks are simply just, waiting for the next reaction. And, we definitely want to keep in mind that we did hit significant resistance, which led to that pullback. The weekly is a bit extended. We're not even close to the 20. So this breakout here could easily be faded into and lead to another pullback before we really see this this upward movement continue. But daily does look like there is a reaction off the 50. We want to keep that in mind. And I think lastly, before we look at some of the sectors, we want to look at gold and silver. And I've got a lot of lines here. I've been marking some of the significant lows as we've been consolidating over time. Weekly perspective, really strong bull market past couple of years that led into this retracement. We have a channel forming potential bull flag. This is why we were starting to focus in this area as we hit some significant lows on the weekly. We tested this area 3 times, and on this retracement, so far we have been moving higher. So obviously day to day, we'll see a little bit of push and pull. And on the daily, we see that we're kind of coming back into an area that acted as resistance. We got through it, or sorry, it acted as support. We broke through it, should be resistance, but we've already cleared it. So now can we hold it and get to our next target? We're simply trying to form stair steps here in the attempt of a retracement starting to break out. And first things first, we have to get through the channel on the weekly. We have to go low to high on the channel. If we get to that high point, maybe a slight pullback, and then we're looking for the breakout. That's going to lead to potentially some sort of longer term shift in metals outperforming some other asset classes. Silver picture here is a little bit more sloppy, I would say. We have not gotten over the most recent resistance point. So we are just kind of sitting and waiting to see, whether we can get above here. The picture and the levels are very clear, so that's obviously nice. If you're looking short term, you already got a nice target. And if you're looking on the weekly, you're seeing a lot of chop. It's very hard to read on the weekly, but perspective here is that we came from a bull market. We found sort of a double bottom support. We have made a new higher low, which is why we were starting to focus in the metals in the first place. And the 50 is acting as a general area of support on the weekly. So overall, we're just keeping an eye. We're starting conservative. This would be an aggressive entry on this pullback. We were looking at a conservative entry, and now we're trying to see, can we start to breach through some of these daily levels of resistance. Okay, shifting into our sectors, just to get a quick overview as we wrap up today's session. We're going to look at sector overview, and we're going to sort it by market cap, which it already is. So XLK, pretty close to all-time high, stronger than the Qs overall. Technology has been standing out throughout some of the recent breakout moves that we have. And we're once again holding this upper range. So the intraday structure, the recent structure, very similar to the Qs, but where we are on the chart is different. Qs right at all-time highs. XLK broke through all-time highs, and we're sitting a little bit higher. Financials, another strong name yesterday. Very notable correlation to some of the weakness we saw in the bond market and some of the increase in the bond yields. So As we sit at all-time highs, I'm still looking at this as, we're still riding the 20 on the daily. Financials are still holding up strong. The picture that we're trying to paint is anything giving us a red flag. And so far, financials are at all-time highs. Tech is right at all-time highs. So perspective so far is that our major sectors aren't really showing us much weakness. Consumer discretionaries, pullback, have not come back to all-time highs. Holding up well, but with stocks like Tesla and now Amazon about to report, we definitely want to keep an eye on this. There's a lot of market cap inside of this sector. And with consumer discretionaries, it can be a gauge of how the economy is doing overall. If consumers are spending in more of a risk-on approach as opposed to just staples, that's definitely a good perspective to have with the market continuing some of its bullish strength. XLV, healthcare, major all-time high breakout. We called that last week with UNH reporting its earnings. That was a really strong push for the Dow. And so far, healthcare is looking really strong overall. So we're seeing a little bit of topping action. This move is probably just about over. We would like to see that pull back to the 20. And since we had this significant breakout, usually the case is the first pullback to the 20 tends to be a general area to consider a buy, and you're looking for at least a retest of those previous highs. General trend structure in play there. XLI, stair-stepping, multiple occurrences of coming to the 20, breaking out into a new high, pulling back to the 20, breaking to a new high, pull back to the 20, and now we're sitting right at all-time highs. The perspective here is that industrials are a bit extended. We know that is true for a lot of different sectors, but the daily trend continues. And until we see a reaction through the 20, we're sort of just watching this to see, how stable is this uptrend and how much more can it provide us before a deeper pullback. Consumer staples. Brian actually mentioned this in some of his swing trading reviews. Consumer discretionaries are holding. Consumer staples, I would say, are not. We see a breakthrough of the 20. We see a breakthrough of this upper range. So that overall is the fact that this breakout could not hold. And that's going to look essentially like a false breakout on the weekly where we have this indecision and we're coming back down into the range. So consumer staples are pulling back. I would say our next target is this lower end of the range where we came from and where we tried to break out from. And keep in mind that consumer staples did have a nice breakthrough of a channel. So it is perfectly normal for some of this to be sold into, as we've already pretty much hit our 2x target if we were to extend this range, twice the size of the range. So we definitely hit targets here. The pullback is expected. And at this point, we're just looking at where can we get back in. So pull down, some of these are going to be viable. Some of them are not. We'll see which ones actually look structurally the best. Utilities, very strong breakout of the channel. We had this range here. We extended it to about twice. It actually, gave us a little bit more upside and hit resistance. And now we get this pullback. So as we sit on the 20, I'm going to be looking at utilities today and say, are they reacting off the 20? Is this selling going to continue? And can we find some support either here or simply at a dynamic moving average? So always want to keep in mind what was strong. Just because it's pulling back doesn't mean it doesn't have more to give. Utilities did hit resistance, but these pullbacks should be viable to some degree, and we'll just have to find which area of support they want to react off of. And then finally, we were talking about energy, so we may as well look at the sector ETF. What I'm looking at here is that we did pull back harder than some other sectors. We formed a retracement. This is sort of that triangle where you get the range compression. We have this tightening range at the lower end, and this is a support zone that we've pulled back into. We can see it here. We can see how the market reacted off of this area, and we're starting to slowly breach above a potential downtrend resistance. So the potential for energy here is that we can get some of our deeper pullback sectors and actually look at a nice area of support, something that structurally we can define our risk at pretty well. And even if we're looking at a deeper pullback in the near term, we can scale into this position with the upside potential that we saw in crude and that we saw in natural gas. So definitely interested in energy. Keep an eye on this structure here. And then we have some areas of support that were previous resistance, this notable inflection and this notable high. So I think with that said, that is all the time that I have. Obviously, we had some earnings yesterday, Microsoft, Google. We're coming into another strong earnings day, both this morning with things like Boeing, and then this afternoon with, if I can recall, Facebook and Apple. So big tech is still the name of the game. We have some other earnings to start to look at for other sectors and other general consensus of strength or weakness in the economy. And from there, we'll see what trade opportunities come our way. So with that said, I'm Jared. This is Engineering the Markets. Trade safe. Have a happy Wednesday, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the pre-market prep. I hope everyone's having an amazing morning. Hope you had a great day yesterday. Good morning, Norm. How are you doing today?
Hey, good morning, brother. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. All right, guys, let's get into our watch list yesterday. Before we do that, actually, let's give Jerry a big thumbs up for this morning
Absolutely.
engineering the market. So let's make sure we do that, guys. Show him some love for all the work and stuff he's putting in every single morning. So we appreciate that. All right, guys, let's look into our watch list yesterday, starting with Mara. So Mara, as you can see here, that is, let me make sure I put you guys in the right chart. It will be this here. This was yesterday, the 27th. And man, just pure chop, guys. Just up and down action. Did not trade well at all. And there was a few on my list, at least, that did not trade well, besides NEO. We'll look at that next. Again, just pure chop. There was nothing happening here, as you can see. It did get better later in the day after 12. You can see the candles forming a better pattern here. Then right back to some chop again, and then, you know, again, a little bit decent trading towards the end. But for the most part, you have one window here, looks like 11:15 and probably 1:30 or so. Here was NEO. NEO was actually really good, guys. Look at this breakdown we had yesterday. Great pullback for a break of the 5-minute. Comes right back up to VWAP, and you can see the loss of this range here was really nice. Got a beautiful continuation to that 41.98 level that we had. Another test of the VWAP, and again, slamming down. So again, just a great start for NEO. It does get a little choppy in this area between 10:30 and 12 or so. cannot stay above the VWAP, and this could have been a fake out for a lot of people, and that's okay. You get stopped out. You realize the stock does not want to stay above the VWAP. It wants to slam down, and the minute it does, we have this level here again, 41.98. Breaks down below that. Two places you could have caught this right here at the loss of VWAP, because you notice that every time he's trying to stay above the VWAP, he couldn't. 2 or 3 more tries usually could be a good indication for a fail to head the other way, and it did. Or the break of this level again, right? If it breaks this level, you have an opportunity to run, making your stop, these moving averages, and just look how beautiful that is, right back towards the low of the day here and then some. So again, Neo all around yesterday, really good trade with some really good volume as well. OCGN was okay later in the day. At the morning was a little choppy in here. It was a short. You had to be patient. It wasn't one that ran pretty fast like we like to see in the morning, but you did get a little drop here eventually. But what a beautiful pop later in the day here on OCGN. Envis was a nice beautiful short here. I don't think we had shares for short, and I wasn't interested in shorting this thing anyway.
They became available a little bit later in the day.
Oh, they did.
Not
Okay.
not in a huge quantity or anything, but a few people did take some shorts there. But it was that was a wild ride.
Yeah, I'm sure. I had no interest in doing that, but if you're able to get some shorts here and played out nice, that could have been pretty good here. So short the entire day, guys. This thing hit 30, which was their all-time high, 31. And then the pre-market started showing some weakness. It did translate into the market open and never really recovered from it. So in play again today, guys, 2.2 million shares. We'll take a look at that a little bit later. Here's Apple. Apple had a good drop at the beginning, but it wasn't as clean as we've seen. Also very choppy, guys. Again, just not a whole lot yesterday that looked great. AMD was also very choppy. Just look at this here on AMD. Did we get earnings on AMD yesterday? Something definitely happened here after hours, as you can see. We'll get into that.
Yeah, they had earnings last night.
They did? Okay, we'll take a look at AMD. Great volume today, 1.3. And then CCIV, you did get a drop here, but again, just a lot of chop yesterday. It was not an easy day for trading, that's for sure. So, all right, guys, let's get to it. Let's look at a quick update on what's going on as a overall SPY, and then we'll get into our list here.
I mean, I don't see how I can possibly improve upon what Jared gives us every morning for the first half hour. I would just say we're relatively flat this morning. For the day, we're relatively flat on the SPY is about as flat as it can be without being closed. And the Qs are down just a little bit. The big thing for today, we have FOMC policy statement, 2 p.m. I hate trading on these days. You might catch some good moves at the open, but my feel is it's going to suck after about the first half hour. And it's just going to sit into that 2 o'clock time frame. And then at 2:30, Jay Powell is going to come out and do his press conference. We know how that goes most of the time.
Yep.
So, nobody's really expecting any changes in the rate or policy per se. The biggest thing is going to be their statement and how they feel about the economy and inflation and such. And if they start hinting that maybe, we're a little bit closer to rate increases than they originally said, which was kind of like they're not even going to thinking about talking about increasing rates until, a long time in the future, which maybe is getting a little closer. So,
yeah, agreed. So we'll look forward to that, guys, see how that plays out today. With that said, let's take a look at our watch list this morning, what our gapper looks like. Let's remove our stuff from yesterday here. We'll make some rows, and we'll take a look at what's gapping up and down this morning. So on the upside, we do have TIRX. This one here was active yesterday as well. Actually traded very well. I was chatting with one of the members here on our YouTube, and you can see here how, again, it did get a nice little pop here. We did not have it on the list, but it did trade pretty decent yesterday. This morning, the pre-market action is a little bit all over the place. It looks like they're trying to break out of this consolidation they had down here for a couple of weeks. Again, this thing had a huge drop, guys, 90 down to 20. They're trading at 17, so it could be rather interesting. Let's remind ourselves what the flow is on this one, 3.9. So again, I wish we had more volume. Let's take a look at it a little bit later down the line. TIRX here for a low flow possibly of the day. We'll see. It's the only low flow we have on our list this morning. Envis here, although you could treat this one almost like a low flow. This one is going to be active, guys. We know that for sure. Third day of madness here. Up 7.6, 2.7 million shares traded, as you can see here. So we'll keep an eye on it for sure. Definitely in play. As you guys know already, just be very careful with this one. It is on short selling restriction. Shows that we have shares for short now. I'm not sure how that is going to be. You can see we have obviously some margin restrictions on this thing, of course, because how risky it is. This with IB. So if you double click on this, you can see some of the margin restrictions you're going to have if you do take a trade here. Only 300,000 shares short. That might not be available at the market open. So again, there's just a lot going on in this stock that you want to be careful with, right? There's a reason why they put these margins restrictions on there. All right, let's see what else we have, guys. Heading down the line, we have GSX. This one here, this one had was it yesterday, the day before? We saw some kind of action. It was in the pre-market. I forget. Yeah, it was on the 26th actually. So this would have been Monday, right? If you guys remember, this started getting really active out of nowhere here, and it did okay. It doesn't trade very well intraday, but the last couple of days we've seen a lot of volume out of this one. So yesterday, it was yesterday, the day before, we had some 31 million here. Yesterday, not so much. So we'll see. It is up 7%, 1 million shares traded. I'm going to put it as a possible because I think their daily is interesting. And I think they're moving. We talked about this, right? About them changing their name. There's got to be more behind it, hopefully. But again, that's got them active and going the last couple of days. Here is AMD, guys. So AMD earnings, and Norm, looks like they crushed it yesterday, doing really well, as we can see.
Yep.
So we are definitely going to have this on watch today. 1.3 million shares traded. I cannot remember when AMD has so much volume in the pre-market, but this is looking really, really good for today. They've been strong the last couple of days, guys, putting a couple of nice days, nice green days in here. We had a couple of draws, so this was the overall market just selling off. I think if it wasn't for that, AMD will be crushing it throughout this entire stretch here. So looking pretty good, guys. Definitely on our list. AMD on top of the list here this morning. BSX, this one, it is not looking great. Up 2.5. Volume is very light at the moment. Doesn't look like it trades very well. I can't say it's foreign. Hard to tell. But it does look, it could be. It does look a little choppy in here on the daily.
But it's Boston Scientific. It's a 1.4 billion share float. It sucks to trade.
Yeah. So again, that doesn't look good at all there.
They had earnings this morning. I have watched this in the past. It's not a good trading stock intraday.
Yeah. So we'll skip on this one. TRIL, excuse me. This one, this is pretty bad. Daily's all over the place. Volume is very light and just pre-market. Look at this, guys. That's not good. Let's skip on this one. That covers our gapping up list. Let's see what's gapping down. We have a lot more there. Pins is leading the way here with down 11.5, 995,000 shares traded. So pretty nice drop on pins. Their pre-market action doesn't look great, but they have great volume. They can trade well at times. Any news, Norm? There's a big drop for them.
Yeah, they had earnings last night, which they actually beat their earnings, but they're forecasting flat subscriber growth for any kind of social platform. That is no bueno.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So guys, let's keep an eye on it. Again, pre-market's not looking great, but hopefully that changes. This is a big drop for them with a catalyst behind it. We can expect something good out of this one, hopefully. DISCA. Now, this is down with that Biocom and everything else that happened last time. This is one of those tickers. This one's a little active. I don't see the other ones on here.
They got earnings this morning, by the way.
Oh, it's just them at the moment with earnings. Meaning that this one, Disca, has earnings. Is that what it is?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah. So then down 7.9, guys, 1.1 million shares traded right now. So yeah, it could be interesting. I'm going to add it on here. It doesn't trade. Oops, I put Viacom. It doesn't trade very well. We know that. But lately, we had a couple of days in here where we've seen some madness. So let's see how this earnings is going to play out. Their pre-market is not bad. They got great volume in here at the moment. Their spread is not great. But it's not horrible. It's not horrible just yet. So we'll see if more volume comes in at the market open and can make that a good candidate for today's trading. VXRT was active yesterday. We were talking about this one in the chat room. I did not have it on my list because it got going after the market opened. It hit our scanners, and you can see here how well this thing traded. And we were talking about this when Andrew was on and Brian were on. This was active in February, but we remember this one from way back, 2018 or so. We used to trade this all the time. Was it 2018? I don't remember. Or, no, sorry, 2020 here. But we used to trade this one all the time. It was very, very active. It did get active in February. But aside from that, yesterday had a pretty good day. So we'll see if today we get any kind of continuation. Already they have amazing volume, guys. 1.1 million shares traded. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. VXRT, it traded very clean yesterday. VXRT. We'll see if that's going to continue today. Save this morning, they are down 3.4, as you can see here. Not a whole lot of pre-market activity. They got great volume, 544, but that volume is not trading very well at all. Their daily is a little bit all over the place. So again, I'm just not going to add this one for now.
Got an analyst downgrade this morning. I think that's about the only catalyst I'm seeing, really.
Okay. Again, it doesn't look too good at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see if that hits our scanners or something. OCGN right now, guys. This one is, what do we have going on today? 2.9, down 2.9, 1.5 million shares traded right now. So very active. It has been, although this daily looks horrible here, right? If you look at some of the intraday action, because we've been watching this one, it's a couple of good spots here where it's been trading very well. This was yesterday's action. The morning open was not clean. It did turn to an okay short, but it turned to a great reversal. And if you missed this part here, you see the strength coming in after the VWAP around 2 o'clock or so. So it did turn out to be a good trade. The day before was also very, very active, as you can see here. So it's got a couple of days here where it's been doing some stuff. So let's add it on here. Maybe it's a possible. Could be a main one, but just for now, it's a possible. OCGN on the list this morning. CHPT, this has been gapping up or down on our list back and forth. Let's see what it did yesterday. Yesterday actually doesn't look all that bad, the short here, but again, it's hard to tell. Only traded 9.2 million shares for the entire day, so it could have been a little choppy with the price action. Again, I'm just not a fan of the way this is looking right now. We'll skip on it. Microsoft down 2.5 this morning, 875, and you can see here after hours. I'm assuming earnings here as well for Microsoft post.
Yeah, they had earnings last night.
So they're taking a little bit of a hit, but guys, this stock still has been very strong. So I'm not sure what the exact numbers were as far as their hit.
Actually, they beat, but they beat. It's one of those weird deals where they're down this morning. So.
So we'll see if that's going to stay there. Actually, looking at the daily, it does look very interesting. We're slamming right to the area of support from this new consolidation we've been having. So that could be very interesting. Microsoft, I'm going to add it on here as well. We have plug on deck down 2.5. No, let's do one plug, not two plugs. There we go. One plug here. So we have down 2.5, 204,000 shares traded. Pre-market is okay, not great. On the fence, we'll come back to it. It can trade very clean. We know that. Fuel cell is on here. So a lot of EV companies down a little bit here. Fuel cell down 2.4. I don't like the volume on it though. AMC is getting hit a little bit here. That could be interesting. If AMC going to come back down to that 1050 area. They got some decent volume down 2.9. Let's add AMC there. CHPT we looked at, and SKLC we took a look at as well. Well, let's look at it now actually. We looked at it yesterday. This morning, 311. I'm not seeing anything great right now. We can always, if you guys see something good, throw that back out to us. I just want to look at Facebook. Is making an appearance here, up 2.1 this morning. They're capping up with 247,000 shares traded. Looks like earnings yesterday or today. It says April 28th.
Facebook, has earnings after hours tonight.
After hours, okay. We did get some action last night though, after hours here. So
I mean, it's popping. We got a couple of the, we've got some big earnings that came out yesterday, some FANG stuff. So it's, we had Google and Microsoft last night.
Yeah.
So when the FANG stocks get earnings, the others move in sympathy, even though they're kind of related, but not entirely. So.
Simmer is asking us if I'm drinking wine already so early because of the cup that I have here. No, it's just water. I promise you it's not vodka like Brian. It's just a pretty fancy glass for water, I guess. All right, Facebook is interesting, guys. Let's keep an eye on that one. I'm going to put as a possible now. Let's see how that's going to play out today. Okay. Norm, anything you like this morning?
I am still looking, man. Like I said, these are not my favorite days to trade. I will shout out Boeing BA. BA had earnings this morning, had posted a wider loss than expected. So it might be of interest later today. They've got decent volume for Boeing, but overall, this is kind of a morning going into these. So we're gonna have to pick something that's legit in play. And watch that R vol and watch that gap and watch how things move in order flow at the open. Otherwise, I'm concerned about getting chopped up.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be on the lookout for that, guys. And again, if you find yourself getting, cut up a bit, 2, 3 or more times in one ticker, just take a break. You got to look at the bigger picture. You might be caught in some chop. All right, Chris MC, let's start with you. BA we do have on deck. Let's move on down. BA looks great. Yep, we have BA on deck here, guys. Pins, yeah, we have pins on deck also here. Looking good this morning. Pre-market's a little choppy, but I do love this drop on pins today. We'll take a look at what's happening there. Jimmy, let's take one from you here. Looks like we have most of these except Neo. Let's take a look at Neo this morning. It was great yesterday. I think we need to add Neo to our deck. It was really, really good yesterday. Hopefully that type of trading continues. So far, they have 700,000 shares traded, which is nice. Let's remove some of these levels. We got some new highs and lows here. We'll see what Neo has for us. So getting a little bit again, it did a nice run here from 35 to 43. Are we coming back down to this level of support again? A lot of the EV stuff is in the red here. So let's see what Neo does today. All right, heading down to Mark and Simmer. You both are giving us NMDM. Let's take a look here. They are down almost 1%, 372,000 shares traded. Their pre-market action looking okay. Had a nice day yesterday, looks like. Let's take a look here. Nice, beautiful drop. Yeah, that was pretty. That was pretty. So possible continuation today, guys, towards the bottom. What we have here now, you have a lot of congestion coming in here, a lot of levels from the daily, and there's also an area of support, as you can see here. So I'm not sure we're going to get such a clean day like we did yesterday, gapping up into nothing and then kind of closing that gap. Those are usually really good plays. We might not see something like that today. So only a possible for now. Let's see if we see something great there. Amazon rumors of a split. Not sure, but I'm not going to add Amazon. It's a very difficult stock to day trade. So I'm going to skip on that one for now. Pins, let's take a look at Shop. Same thing with Google. And this is Spotify, Shop, I believe. And again, we know, yeah, Shopify, excuse me, not Spotify. And this is, again, guys, very difficult to trade. Very, very difficult to trade. So the price action is funky. The volume is not there. The reason why I don't keep it on deck. Let's take a look.
I changed my name to Normify. Will I get a 5% pop every morning?
Absolutely. Look what happened to GSX. They changed their name. And if you do that and then you add NFTs and then you say you're going to be involved with Bitcoin and you're going to start a car, dude, you'll be having to do a split very soon. Very soon. Okay.
I could use more of me. I'd get more done.
Guys, take a look at ADMA. This looks good here. It's very active. 14 million shares traded this morning. It is up 20%. ADMA. What do we have here? The float is 120 million. It's more of a penny stock though. Under that $2, I'm concerned with this one. Let's put it down here for now next to TIRX, but I'm just concerned with these type of stocks that are very higher flow and are trading under $1. They could be concerning, and not because they're bad. It's just their price action, right? Because price action is very important. Could be a little funky at times and harder to read. So that's all. Nothing actually wrong with them. They're not a heavy risk because they are larger cap. So they a larger flow. So they tend not to drop on you, $2, $3 at a time. They'll move slower, but it's just the overall movement of the stock. Here's Apple. I think Apple's a good one. I don't think they are in play right now. We have to see how the market is going to be. And as Norm mentioned, days like these could be a little choppy. And again, Apple has ran up a lot. It's doing a great consolidation here between 135 and the bigger range is 132. Smaller range is 133, as you can see here. I'm looking for this to break out one way or the other, hopefully towards the top side. But that might not be today. So I'm going to keep it off the list. I'm going to look for this in our scanners later in the day. So Microsoft we do have. That's a good one. Yeah, we have it. Where is it? Yeah, right there. That's good. OCGN we do have on deck. It's a possible. We'll take a closer look at that. Had a great day yesterday. I'm not sure if we're going to get that type of day today. All right, what else we have here? Good. Okay. Can we explain how does earning work, and if you have to buy shares before the of earn? So somebody's asking here, RFG. Can we explain how does earning work, and do you have to buy shares before the day of earning, or you can buy the same moment of earnings in order to get the earnings amount? I'm not sure.
So that's not really how that works. I think you're
Yeah.
confusing dividends and earnings a little bit. Dividends
Right.
are an amount of money that the company pays out to shareholders, which that's different than earnings. Earnings are when they're public companies required to report 4 times a year how their financial statements, and that's what earnings are. So when we say earnings are, $1 per share, that's just taking the total amount of profit that they had, essentially dividing it by the total number of shares, and you have earnings per share. It's just an easy way to evaluate fundamentals on a company. Dividends are different, and those we don't trade based off of dividends, so that's a little more complex.
Right. All right, let's go over
But for
on.
the most part, since you kind of mentioned it in there, and it's not such a thing with day trading, because usually, the earnings are before market open and after market open. So we're generally not in something the second those earnings come out. Sometimes people trade after hours or pre-market based on earnings that already came out and the catalyst that it gives. But a lot of swing traders try to stay away from being in a stock over the period of time when they're going to announce earnings.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys, let's take a look at some of the stuff over on our YouTube chat, our YouTube friends here. And again, guys, spam will just get you blocked. So we saw Jova leave there in a hurry. Let's get here, ENPH. Let's take a look. ENPH, oh man, we traded this before a lot. It was a lot lower than this. It's like 40, 30 bucks. It was down here. Now this thing's at 150. So a nice little run it has had. It didn't trade well back then, and I don't think it's going to trade well now, guys. So looking at their daily, their price action, it doesn't look great. Also very light on the volume. Pre-market is just not there neither. Only 95,000. They're down 9.2. I'm not saying that you cannot take a shot at this and get down to some levels. You could. It's just for the way we trade, the fast pace we do here, and it could be a little bit more difficult on this stock. So, but again, it depends on your style. I do like this drop here, and if I was a different type of trader, maybe I'll be interested in seeing this drop a little bit, take a little bit less risk because the volume is not there, and also you might have some wide spread, so you have to be a little bit careful with that. All right, so that's ENPH. What do we have? Envis. Yes, Envis is in play today, guys. Already, we had this one?
Yeah, on that one. It's nuts.
Yes. We added it. Be careful on this. Take a smaller size, guys. Again, make your money on the move. You're not on the number of shares, and your broker's probably going to have some restrictions on this. They should, if they're, to protect you, which is a good thing. So make sure you are very careful with this. I typed in ripping. What am I doing here? I typed. All right. Yes, Envis is ripping. There you go. All right. So let's see what we have here, guys. OCGN.
They're changing their name too.
I know, right? OCGN is on here. We'll see. It looks good right now, volume wise. It is down 2.9, trying to get itself into the green area. We'll see if it can actually do that here. Microsoft, we do have, guys, just looking over on our other chat as well. I think we're good, guys. I think we have pretty good list. It's a lot on here. We definitely have to fine tune this a little bit more, and we will show you that in a second after we go over our announcements and our community events.
All right, guys. Last night's webinar by Michael Moss should be posted soon. If it is not already, there is a dude driving down my street backward with the door open. I don't know what that was. Sorry.
He's doing a TikTok video, man. So he's probably doing
it. I don't know, man. Sheesh. Next week, 5 p.m. on Tuesday. You've got Eamon doing his part 2 parabolic. This morning's bizarre. Part 2 of his parabolic reversal strategy webinar. So note the special time, 5 p.m. next Tuesday because of his time zone. And then tonight, 8 p.m., you've got Dr. Katz doing town hall with 2 traders from the room. So come check that out. Awesome format, really insightful. And we always are very appreciative of the members that are willing to be an open book in those sessions. All right, member trade of the day. If you want to participate in this, take a screenshot of your best trade of the day. It obviously should have entries and exits, and then put any commentary you can to describe the trade and the strategy. Post it on Twitter, tag up at Bearable Traders, at Mike B_BBT, and at Norm BBT. Also use the hashtags BBT Family. Day trading and stock market. We'll announce a winner at the end of each day, and then on Monday, we will announce the trade of the week, which are taken from the trades of the day the previous week and voted on the team over the weekend. If you're watching on YouTube and haven't been in the chat, use the promo code PREMARKET24. That'll get you a discount off the intro membership, which is 7 calendar days in the room, 5 trading days. Does not auto renew or turn into any other kind of membership. Just cancels. Also gives you access to those live onboarding classes we do every Monday night. And also, if you're looking to upgrade your membership or become an annual member, use the promo code SPRING40. Last few days for this. And that will give you 40% off the Elite Annual Membership.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Norm. All right, guys, let's get into it. Let's look at our list here this morning. Just to recap, we do have Envis here, which is very active. Again, very careful with this one. AMD is popping up nicely with some good volume today, 1.5. That's gonna stay on there. Pins is a nice gap down. Let's just hope that it's gonna trade clean today. Disca here, it's okay. I like the fact that we're losing it here. They do have a catalyst as well. 1.1 million shares traded so far. So we just have to see how the price action is going to be on this one. VXRT was explosive yesterday. They're down today. Still great volume. We do have shares for short on this one. So this could be interesting. Are we coming back down to its normal trading price here, or are we going to have another continuation? Or it could just be chop. But either way, I think this one has a good shot of being fun to trade to look at today. Here's Neo. Neo was great yesterday. Hopefully today they continue with some of this great trading they've been doing the last couple of days. We're slightly below a great area of support and resistance. This previous day close line is going to be interesting. So I like Neo this morning. Maybe Disco will be one that we move down. Out of all of these, it might be the one that we could probably find something better here. NNDM, let's take a look here at our secondary. Facebook is good. For a secondary. Microsoft is good. I like this drop on Microsoft. Could be probably on our main list. OCGM, we got great possibles. A lot of these could be on our main list as well. Plug here. Plug is starting to drop a little bit more, losing the previous low of the pre-market here. You know what? I probably like Plug more than Disca. I'm going to move Disca down. I'm just concerned that it can be choppy, guys. That's my only concern on this one. Like anything can, but you know, with experience, you try to see what has traded well in the past, and Plug by far has traded 10 times better in the past than Disca has. So I'm moving Disca down, I'm moving Plug up, and hopefully that can turn out okay. It could be completely wrong, it could be the opposite, but let's hope that's doing well. Is Norman's gone? Norman's gone. You know, he's probably trading Envis right now. That's probably what he's doing. So I hope he is crushing it at the moment. All right, let's take a look here, guys. Do some levels. Envis, let's start here. We have, let's get my hotkey here. There we go. Right now, I guess we can add the high of the pre-market here, but again, it looks like we're going to blow right through that. 22.85 right now is your high of your pre-market. Outside of that, it's not many levels. We're going to add this one here from this day, 24.14. Then we have our highs from the last 2 trading days over here around 28. You don't have much in between that besides 24.14. And then towards the bottom, you're pretty much covered. You have the highs and lows of the last 2 trading days, and you also have the previous day close. So let's see what happens here. In between here, guys, this stock moves so much. You can find levels in your pre-market already. Right over here, clearly this is, actually I like this level here better because this is where the breakout is happening. So you see the resistance here at 21.84, slam back down, slam back down, slam back down. One more time, and now we're breaking out, right? So I like that better than this one here, right? And this level at 26.60. So nothing wrong with this one, but this will be good towards, actually we could leave it there, right? It'll be good if it's towards the bottom, but towards the top, I like this one better here, 21.84. So we'll see what happens there. All right, some pretty good levels here. 22.85 is holding it. Looks like I put this line here, and now people are selling because I did this line. I highly doubt it, but we'll see what happens. 21.85, high of the pre-market at the moment. AMD here, guys, again, I think this is going to be interesting. They have amazing volume today. High of the pre-market, 89.90. We'll throw a level there. That's not their all-time high. AMD has definitely been doing pretty well in the past. So we have some clear levels here, obviously 93.83. Another one clearly all the way up here, 99.11. Again, look how choppy. This is not a great daily, guys, in here, right? Here, it gets a lot better. Look how smooth this is. You see the movement here? how nice that is. The patterns tightening up, getting into congestion area, and then the breakout. This is beautiful, a beautiful daily here. Here, this is pure chop, every day overlapping the previous one. So you're not going to find great levels, right? We have 93.83. That was a good one. We see a lot of touches there. We have this one clearly all the way up here. In between here, above our pre-market high and before this 93.83, it's gonna be a minor support resistance. I'm gonna pick this one here, 91.74. I see a lot of touches on here, a lot of days opening and closing on there, but it's not going to be a blockbuster level like this one, right? This is a strong level here. We see it clearly changing direction. So again, just keep that in mind. But 91.74, we'll throw that level there. Now towards the bottom here, we do have our low of our pre-market 84.41. That's pretty good there. We got a couple of touches down here toward the left as well. A lot of support happening there, so that's good. And then towards the bottom, guys, highs and lows from the last 2 trading days. AMD looking pretty good this morning as far as action, and a great pre-market action, great volume. Here is pins today, guys. Low of the pre-market 68.07 is the low of the pre-market for pins. High of the pre-market all the way up here. Oh, not too far. Right over here around, what do we have? 70.03. High of the pre-market, and then towards the top, guys, highs and lows from the last two trading days. This high of the pre-market has been a great area of support in the past, so let's see if it's going to play resistance again, if the stock can make it up there. So that's what we have there. Then here, guys, another level here, minor area, 72.17. A couple of days just banging their heads up in here, could not get above that, and then you can see here again using that little bit of support, not quite, but again, I think that's a good level to have in there. It's a good midpoint between 74 and your pre-market high at the moment. Now towards the bottom, if we were to change direction, this thing is already down 10%, but looking to recover a little bit. 65.71, very good clean level, good support there, and also down here 62.48 as well. VXRT, again, very clean trading yesterday. Low of the pre-market 778. High of the pre-market 889. We'll throw 2 levels there. And then outside of that window towards the top, you have your highs from yesterday. Over here, you have some highs from above your highs from yesterday, 984. We can throw that there just in case we're going to run like we did yesterday. Now towards the bottom, let's see this one here, obviously very clear. Right on here, guys, great area of resistance that cannot become support, 707. And then in between here, you don't really have good levels. I don't see anything great. But I'm going to keep this one here. This is a really, really good one. This one here, you can also mark this day here also, but this 778 is so close to it. This is the only reason why I'm not marking this one. I'm going to go with 778, which is our low of our pre-market. But this one, if that was not there, this would have been a good level here at 766. All right, here's NEO. NEO this morning, we are, again, after a nice run, a bit of a red day yesterday. Very clean red day, by the way. Low of the pre-market here, 40.50. We are down about 1%. Was down a little bit more than that to create this area of support on the pre-market low. Towards the bottom, we have a nice level here. A couple of days using that as resistance and support, 39.55. And then towards the top, guys, you have the highs and lows, previous day close. All those levels are taking care of you there. So do not need to add any more on NEO. Good volume at the moment. Now here's Plug. Plug was dropping down nicely, getting a little bit of a pull up here. 27.70 is the low of the pre-market. Towards the bottom, another good level here, 26.34. All the way down here, clearly a level 39, 23.90. And then another one here, a couple of days also using 25.29. So some good levels towards the bottom here. Towards the top, previous day close, highs and lows from the last 2 trading days. So we're getting a little bit of a drop here. Let's see if we're going to continue. Again, Plug has been getting slammed here. They see a couple of green days here, now back down again. Let's see where it wants to go from here. And that's what we have on our main list. Let's review our secondary list just in case. Disca, I have it as a top possible, guys. If this thing can lose this low of the pre-market, right here, 37.70 could be interesting. That's also a good level of support because you saw what happened around this area a couple of days ago, right? We did get it bounce up. We're slamming right back down to that area. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. NNDM had a great day yesterday, but I think this day was really because of the gap up and then just closing this gap towards the bottom, traded very well. I don't know if we're going to get that today. Facebook could be interesting. I'm going to look for scanners on this one. We have Microsoft on deck as well. Also very good. I don't like the way Microsoft trades. It's not a bad trading stock, but I just don't like the way it trades for the way I trade. But if you do, Microsoft is definitely interesting today. OCGN is here. Secondary GSX. Now they're very active, guys. 1.1. Not typically my style of trading, but man, I gotta say they've been trading pretty interesting the last couple of days. So gonna keep a close eye on that one. AMC made a new low here, now down at 1091. Is it trying to head back down towards this 950 area? So that could be interesting on AMC. We'll keep an eye on that. And then BA also looking good, guys, for a possible drop here towards some of these levels we have towards the bottom. So we have a lot that looks good today. Let's take a look at our moderators lineup, see what they have this morning. What do they like today? Let's resize our browser here, and we'll bring over our mods list this morning. All right, here we go. So starting with Amy, he's looking at Twitter, OCGN, secondary list, mRNA, BP, and also Futu. And then Peter, IPO for today, the first one this week, I think, right, Peter? We haven't had any. FTCI, and then Thor is looking at AMD, Microsoft, Neo, secondary list, Tesla, and UPS. Tiffany's looking at Microsoft, AMD, Envis, Pins, and a Tesla. Mike is looking at Facebook, mRNA, and also AMD. Jared is copying Thor and Tiffany's list, so easy way to go there. Peter is looking at AMD with a double exclamation point. Of course, today is looking very, very good. Microsoft Pins, secondary list, Envis, OCGN, BA, and Disca as well. I do like the secondary list because all that stuff is on my list as well. They have great, great potential. Dima looking at GSX, AMD, Envis, and Mara on her list this morning. I hope Mara trades better than it did yesterday. It's put in some good days though. But man, yesterday was just so choppy. So we'll see. We'll see what the Bitcoin world has for Mara today. All right, guys, that is what we have. 9:10. We do have a couple of minutes. We had an amazing webinar yesterday, success webinar with Michael Nas. He was incredible. He and just a ton of knowledge of back testing. That was pretty cool what he did with all the back testing stuff. So I have the recording. I'll give it to our team in a second right after this show. So it'll be up today. So those that missed it can actually catch that. So Trade Ideas, guys, is a software we used for our gappers, and he showed us if you have this, you definitely want to watch that video. So many other tools that you can use that are available with your membership right now. You know, if you have a membership with Trade Ideas, there's some stuff that is available there that's brand new that you might definitely like and take advantage of. All right, Brian is coming in with his list: Envis, Disca, Pins, AMD, and Billy. Brian's been watching Billy the last couple of days, so I can see why. A couple of nice green days here, possible breakout on Billy. And I have a lot of love for Billy because it was one of the first trades I took with Brian for the first time, and it turned out pretty nice. So, you know, you never forget your first, right? That's for sure. All right, guys, that is all we have. Thank you so much for joining us over on YouTube. We appreciate you guys doing that every single morning. If it's your first time, consider subscribing and coming back tomorrow. Again, every day, 8 a.m., we start with Jared, Engineering the Markets. And then from there, we go with the pre-market show with Norm and I. Norm, did you take a trade on Envis this pre-market, or you're on mute, I think?
Yeah, I've taken a couple of scalps, but it's a scary one for sure. Tiny size. In and out.
Yeah, it definitely is a scary one, but man, it is moving nicely. Great volume this morning. Just be careful, guys. Be careful on this one. Again, if it goes against you, this is not a stock that you want to be. Absolutely. Let me wait a little bit longer. Let me see what happens. No. Not with this one. No. This is not one of those.
Stick to your stops.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, take care on YouTube. We're going to continue here. Brian and Andrew are up next. If Andrew can connect, he's been doing pretty well with the connection up in the mountains. And he's been getting great connection on his platform, so that's pretty good. Take care, guys. Hit that thumbs up, and we'll see you guys tomorrow over on YouTube. We're going to continue in chat. Have a good one, everyone.
Take care, guys. Trade safe.